Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, we are ready, thanks.
European Space Agency, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call the station for a voice check.
Station, this is Jules at European Space Agency. How can you hear me?
5 by 5.
Hi, Thomas. I hand the mic now to Jan Barthes for the interview on TMC.
Copy.
Allô, Thomas?
Bonjour, Thomas.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui,
Hello, Thomas. Can you hear me? Hello, Alain.
Très bien.
I hear you very clearly, and you?
Bonjour, Thomas. Merci.
Hello, Thomas. Thank you.
Merci d'avoir très bien, j'entends très
Thank
bien.
you. I hear you very
Merci d'avoir tenu votre
extremely
promesse.
well.
On
Thank
s'était
you for
dit
having,
à la
we've
fin
kept
du
our
plateau,
promise,
on s'était dit,
and we had said to each other that we would have a rendezvous in space, so thank you for having kept your promise.
Vous êtes en ce moment à bord de l'ISS.
You are at this moment aboard the ESS, which is a space station that weighs 400 tons and is going around the Earth at 28,000 kilometers per hour. Haven't said anything wrong, have I, or mistaken? No, your numbers are perfect.
D'accord. Et vous êtes à combien de
Good.
kilomètres?
So how many kilometers are you above my head?
On est à 450 km.
We're 450 kilometers on the average above the surface of the Earth.
Alors là, vous êtes où
So there,
précisément, dans quelle pièce? Parce que on voit quoi? Parce que moi, je vois.
we can see what you're in a room. I see I'm looking at a room where everything's to be topsy-turvy, but I know that from your perspective, it is not a topsy-turvy room. No, it is a very well arranged point of the lance or vanguard laboratory. This is Europe's home in space, which we refer to as Columbus. This is the European corner of the space station. This is where I do most of my scientific experiments. We use all of the surfaces, the floors, the ceiling, the sides, the walls, and we attach everything to the walls. Yes, it's true. It gives a little bit of a scrambled look, but we know where everything is. For example, what do you have on the right there? That plastic thing underneath the warning light. What is that white plastic bag?
So
this is
notre unité de mesure à bord de la station spatiale.
Our measuring unit aboard the space station. This is where we keep all of our equipment. There's various sorts of equipment. Equipment has been sent to us. This is sort of a storage space. This is where, for example, I store all of my stuff, because all of them have their own uses. For example, there are little drawers in there, which we can serve aboard the space station. So you are there with 5 other astronauts, 3 Russians and 2 Americans. And what are they doing at this time? Do you know? Yes, I know Shane, who's the space station commander. He's preparing the tools and the equipment for extravehicular exits, which will happen later in the month. Becky is doing experiments on a very large, gigantic box that protects us against contamination and to protect our experiments against contamination. The Russian colleagues are at the other end, and they are downloading the progress module. Everything is so large, each of us can be involved in our own tasks, and so that at the end of the day we can see each other, which is nice.
Et elle est où votre chambre par rapport à là où vous nous parlez? Est-ce que derrière vous il y a un couloir ou c'est derrière la?
So where is your living quarters? Is there a hall behind you? Where do you pass? Well, I will pass behind the camera. Here we are on the right side of the space station. As the space station is always going in the same direction at 28,000 kilometers per hour in this direction. My room is straight ahead, take the first left, and they're the first downward, because there is no up or down in the station. So I go straight ahead, first left, and first down.
Alors
Et quand vous dormez,
and when you sleep, do you float when you sleep? I heard it said that you were floating. And so do you know at any time whether you're standing right upright or upside down when you're floating?
On se laisse flotter, mais on
We allow ourselves to float, but we are in a sleeping bag, which is attached to the wall. The rooms are all at 90 degrees to each other, so each one is 90 degrees from the other. Well, you have to be careful in the morning that when you get up and leave your room, if you're not well oriented, you may take the wrong turn, and that's what you have to be careful about. For example, if you're coming back from dinner and you're floating in one way, you must not take the first down, because then you'll find yourself in somebody else's room, and so you have to be oriented a little bit. But we do this rather quickly, and sleep, it's really super comfortable to sleep with that weight. We immediately get to sleep. You don't have the feeling of your head, for example, resting and weighing on the pillow. Nothing about it is disconcerting. I sleep very well.
Et vous postez donc plein de photos magnifiques.
So here you are. There's a magnificent photograph of you from the Earth.
Mais est-ce qu'on voit aussi les dégâts de l'homme?
But do you also see from space, however, man's major works? Yes, do you see man's environmental defects? Well, I take photographs. I try to post them. They're not necessarily the most beautiful photographs. We see the pollution that covers the major cities. We see the darkish brown effluvia from rivers into the sea. If we look along our trajectory, we can see the melting of the ices. We can see the clouds that are laden with soot and other pollution. To see it with your own eyes and to feel it, it's not quite the same. Once we have descended back to Earth, all astronauts have a heightened sense of these problems, and our job is partly to pass the word along to.
La Terre, c'est pareil, c'est ni plus ni moins qu'une énorme station spatiale qui est lancée comme ça dans un voyage.
An enormous space station which takes us across space. Earth has the same problem as we do to maintain protection against pollution. When you're on Earth, we're obsessed by space because of you, but when you're up, sometimes when you're up there, you're obsessed by land, I would imagine, by the Earth. Yes, we're obsessed by the Earth. We're obsessed by the... we don't spend a lot of time doing that because we're actually constantly occupied with various experiments left and right and forward. But in our free time or in the evening, on weekends, we do take a good look at the Earth. We're wondering what those that are near and dear to us are doing. I take photographs, and I know that they're down there. We review the social media. We ask ourselves, what are they doing down there? We know that when we take a photograph of the Earth, all the people of the Earth are within that photograph except us. We're not in that photograph, and that's kind of a strange feeling. But we know that we're close to the Earth, and our hatches are turned toward the Earth. We're not very much turned with our portholes toward the space, mostly to the Earth. And that's why we do research. That's what we think about all day, is in relation mainly to the Earth.
Depuis 100 jours, c'est
and then,
le moment le plus fort.
What was the strongest or most the greatest impression? Well, there are many moments during the course of the day that are pleasant, which continue. The most impressive part is when we go out in our spacesuits. So we open, we look down below, we see 450 kilometers of emptiness of space as we look down. And the first sensation is that you're going to be falling, but your brain has to be trained to say, no, we're not going to fall down through the hole. Hatch below us, we're going to be floating. There are other rules that apply, physical rules. So we really don't have much time to look at the passing landscape, just a few photographs. We have work to do outside, of course. Whereas we have, in fact, been, in our free moments, been able to see the Earth go by. Now, we do have this feeling of spacing alone in space, and I think this is sort of a fulfillment of a dream.
And
so the worst moment was what, since you came up? The worst moment was, I think the worst moment was when the toilets came malfunctioning at the beginning of the mission. We had to repair them. We spent almost 48 hours because these are complicated toilets. You can imagine in space. It's not my best memory. I think that, can I ask you to do an experiment on the behavior of fluids?
Oui, tout à fait. Alors, parmi
les
expériences qu'on fait, on en a plein. On a des expériences de médecine.
Among the many experiments that we do, there are a lot of them having to do with medicine, with ecology, with fundamental physics, with materials and technology. One that I did last week on fruit. We are cultivating fruit inside these cylinders. It's a capsule which is used to model the movement of and the behavior of liquids in space. And notably, you can see that the fuel containers are empty. We try to use as much liquid as possible to see how it works. This also teaches us how to build motors that are more effective, that run better on Earth, and of course, which have environmental benefits as well. But normally, there's a lot of scientific equipment that's attached to it. This is just the visual side of it. And speaking of liquids, it seems that it is the pinard which you miss the most. Is that true? It's a particular drink in France. No, that's not true. There are a lot of things we don't have here. It's true for Frenchmen, the little wine drink missing, but we're not able to take alcohol in America. The Americans, too, have their own longings. But when we get back to Earth, there's certain things that we do not have from moment to moment. Eating cheese, drinking wine, why not? This is not something that is such a horrible thing to do without, but it's one of the first things that I'll do when I get back to Earth. And it seems also that you are the ESS DJ. You're the one who plays the most music. What is that tube that turns around a loop or a buckle? The tube that turns around a loop, I think that's the USX song, which we did a little camera shot, a little video which we adapted to our isolation station. But everyone has his own music. Everybody takes his turn. We can go from traditional Russian music to American country to electric French touch, electronic music. And so it's kind of neat. I'm not the one who is always choosing the music, but unfortunately we have to learn the other styles as well of music. In any case, I think the French touch is then sort of opposed to Russian music and American country. I think that's cool. It's eclectic. The space station is an international project. We learn to live together, and that's how it passes. It passes through music and everything else. And you talk about international politics. How about the Americans? What do they have to say about the election of Trump? Well, they voted through the internet, which we can do in America, but not in France. I had somebody vote for me for the presidential contest, but during the coming months, my colleagues learned, like everybody else, was a little bit of a surprise about the election of President Trump. But afterward, well, they have to continue our program and go ahead. There's not much that it's not going to affect us very much in our work. International politics is not our favorite politics. It's not a subject of discussion because not everybody agrees, of course, on international politics for the station. So it's not our favorite topic of discussion. So you see us from above, We can do some simple deals so that we can do something simple so that we can see from below. Yes, a simple thing to do. There are, for example, applications on a smartphone that sites that'll show you the house where you live, my home, anything I want to. And so the next time the ESS passes, it'll be at such and such a time. All you have to do is get them out in your garden, your yard, look up into the sky, and you can see a luminous point passing by across space. It looks kind of like a plane, but it passes faster. But in general, there must not be too much light. In Paris, it's difficult not to have high light conditions, but you can see the ESS on a regular basis. So I can see you, I can take your photographs, and you can take a photograph of me as well. It's kind of a neat thing. We take each other's pictures. That's how it works. There were quite a number of articles and people who have theorized. For some, so as far as some people believe that you're not really in space; you're just tranquilly in some sort of a hidden space on Earth. How do we prove to people that you are 500 kilometers above me? How do Parisians get convinced of that? Well, it's hard to fight against that sort of conspiracy theory. But what you're controlling, you can see, for example, how is it that I can do? We cannot do this in a hangar on Earth, for example. There's no anti-gravity machinery on Earth, so obviously that's pretty good evidence that we're in space. And the photographs I take cannot be taken from an airplane. It's not the same thing. And so we, of course, we're connected through internet every day, but that doesn't negate the fact that we're here. So you have a wire on your back?
Pardon?
I beg your pardon? I didn't understand.
Vous avez un fil dans le dos qui vous permet de flotter, non?
Do you have a wire or a cable on the back that helps you float? That wouldn't be a bad idea, but no, we float all day long. We get used to it. It becomes a second nature. And so it's going to be interesting to see how we readapt to life on Earth. But in a different environment, I think the return to Earth will be physically difficult, and perhaps even we're no longer accustomed to interacting with people on a regular basis. We'll see how it feels when I come back, when I re-enter Earth. I have one last question to ask of you. You have not run across a presidential candidate up there, have you? Because some of them seem perhaps somewhat spacey. No, well, I've actually followed the campaign, political campaign. I try to follow that as close as I can. I've heard talk of the presidential campaign. I'm not especially unhappy. From the beginning of 1917, it doesn't seem to be such a great, strong harvest year of political candidates, but, we'll get along. Thank you very much, Thomas Pesquet, and I wish you have a great day above us, and take care, Houston, and until soon, Thomas. So I'll let you go. Because of all the protocol you have around you, I absolutely believe that you're in space. Thanks. Good evening.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants with the European Space Agency. We are now resuming operational audio communications. Thank you.